Hi guys, Chamion here. I hope all is well. I am going to do my version of shepherd's pie for you all today. You all see the setup that I have. I have my fresh seasonings, of course. I have my evaporated milk. I have a bit of beef broth. I have some peas and carrot frozen with my salt and pepper. My butter is here, and of course my 1 pound of minced beef. You'll always have to use the amount of beef to suit the amount of pie that you are going to make, or persons you will be serving. I have some potatoes that I cleaned, peeled and boiled. I cooked until it was tender, of course. I'm going to show you guys the potato. Right? You can use mashed potato, it may not be the same texture. You know, you all know I feel about processed stuff, right? And this is the veg peelers that you can use, of course, to peel your potatoes. Right? So I'm about to move on. First, let me cook my beef, okay? If you don't eat beef for health or religious reasons, it's as simple as using ground chicken or whichever lamb if you can access it, if you live internationally, or whatever else your heart will desire, right? So I already have a pot warming to start with my ground beef. I don't season my stuff beforehand. Time and time again I spoke about us knowing when the beef is good by being the color it is in my bowl there. Don't ever buy beef that is already discolored or dark like if it's cooked, okay? And always store it properly in your refrigerator. So I'm about to put a bit of cold press, some extra virgin olive oil into my pot. You don't want to go too much oil. About there is good, and remember, because it's a non-stick pan, it's going to keep moving back and forth, so it doesn't really matter if I put it in the middle or whatever the case might be. So I'm going to, remember, it's my beef now that I'm cooking, okay? So I'm going to put my fresh seasonings. I want it to really flavor for the beef. And no, I don't really season it before, because once you season minced beef, and I like to use always fresh seasoning, once you season minced beef before you need it, just touching it. If you go and look at my meatball demos, you will see what happens really handling of minced beef, right? Remember, you don't ever wash minced beef, okay? I'm going to get it directly into my pot. Just give it a good stir. At this point, I want to just let it go just a bit. I'm going to put some beef broth in there. If you can't access the beef broth, or you don't want to make it and you're in a hurry, just use the bouillon cubes, beef flavor bouillon cubes, and put water in it to activate it. Okay, you understood that? My brand is an international brand. We have it locally here in Trinidad, of course, and you want to use like 2 for about 1.5 cups of water. Take it out the wrapper first, and you put it in some warm water, right? It's as easy as that. Right, so now I'm getting ready to add. Be careful, beef is somewhat just naturally salty, okay? So you don't want to put any set of salts in there. You want to just monitor things greatly. This is my beef broth. You don't need to put a lot of liquids in beef either, or in any minced meat, sorry, to cook it. Since it's beef, well, I will refer to what it is, which is beef, right? Don't need to put any amount of liquids in there. So while this is cooking, I'm going to put a bit of freshly cracked a medley of peppercorns in there, followed, of course, by a pinch of main sea salt. The brand I'm using is my Stonewall Kitchen brand. There's a promotion at the store. I got it in West Trinidad Brook Foods, right? And you all could, you're gonna get a discount when you are cashing out at their store, right? Give a couple turns while you want your beef seasoned nicely, because I will not be heavily seasoning my potatoes. I'm gonna keep that as classic as I can. I'm gonna put just a few turns of the salt on there, right? Nothing much. Remember, I put the bouillon cubes and it's salted, okay? The broth. Remember, I use the beef broth, so you want to be careful, because we are going to salt our potatoes, of course. Right? So you just want to leave it here. I'm going to put a bit of I have it already on the counter. Forgive me, the some tomato. I have it already. Just let me find it because I want to say the correct thing. I don't want to just ramble off my head and say the wrong thing. What I'm going to put additionally in it, because it is tomato sauce, because we are making let me just open up my can. I'm going to open the can offset, okay, using my electric opener, of course. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm using. It's tomato sauce. You can use paste if you want, but I prefer the sauce, right? I'm just going to open it. You all, I am behind the scenes, but I'm here because remember, I'm still on it and I'm getting ready to make the potato, right? I'm not going to use the whole can that I show, right? You just want a bit of color in there because you don't want the beef just all brown, too brown in your shepherd's pie, right? So out here, I'm going to leave it, and then I'm going to start this minute. I'm going to start the potatoes for it. Always get all contents out of cans and so forth when you are using it. Don't leave it because there is a breakdown of the chemical that they line the cans with once it's open. So get it out of there immediately, okay? I tell you what, I don't come on here to cook and look fancy. I come on here to teach too. So I'm going to go over to my my area here. Let me just, alright, I'm going to leave it, right? So this is my potato. It's just an over the counter colander that I have here, or strainer as it is known in the Caribbean. I'm just going to get my potato into my bowl. I'm wearing gloves. Right? If for some reason your potato is cold, you're going to have to get it back hot however you can, right? Be it in your microwave just for a couple of seconds, which is what I'm going to do. Just put it, because you want it extremely hot for that butter to be melted and nice in there, right? So we just think I already have my cheese set up in my processor, and so I want to make this pie well ahead of time. If you are in a hurry to serve it, you don't want to make it and serve it, because then you can't slice it. You will have to scoop it out of the pot, out of your baking dish, sorry. Right, so our potato is almost ready. Then I'm going to mash it. I'm just going to show you guys how I'm going to mash it. And of course, we're going to get on the process of getting it into the dish and all of that. We just want to make sure we have hot potatoes. And you all know I set up before I come on. If I'm live streaming, I have to always set up properly. So you know, within the time I took to set up, what happened is my potato somewhat dropped in temperature, because it is potato that was only cooked some moments ago prior to coming on. I can't do all of that on live stream. I don't even do it on normal demo, regular demo. Much more for me to come and do it live streaming. I don't want to take up all of that time live streaming, right? And when we were doing the salmon cakes demo, the foam became so heated it shut down on us, and things like that I'm always mindful of, because what happens is I'll have to, you know, come back to stream again once that happens. Okay, so our potatoes, they are ready. I'm going to get the butter and such in it now. Right, I'm using imported butter. Use whichever butter you have. It is not an issue. Right? If you want to know, however, where I get the American sticker butter to buy, comment below and I'll answer. I will answer in a timely manner. I guarantee you that. Right? I'm going to use like all of this butter because it's a stick and it's a lot of potatoes I have in there. You want your potatoes creamy, rich, smooth like velvet, and nice. What I'll do, I'll just cut it up a bit so I won't have to take a long time for the butter to be combined. Okay, so just give it some rough chops with a knife. Because you want it to go by faster, like I just said. Right? So about those size pieces are good. They are good, that's good. Right? And I'm just going to start mashing it this moment, because I don't want that butter to get cold again. that potato to get cold again, right? And don't mash your potatoes too smooth either. You don't want to do that, right? You want to leave some texture. Because if you do it too smooth, what will happen, mash it too smooth, is that it will be even longer to cool down. Right? Take all those things into consideration. You can use salt or unsalted butter, it doesn't matter. Right? I have some milk. You all remember the start I spoke about the milk? I have some milk for it. Still seeing pieces of the butter, but our potato is warm enough for it to melt. Once I mash, I'm going to put salt, the sea salt, a couple turns into it. Don't put too much now. Right, so about here. It's time for me to season up using salt and a bit of freshly cracked black pepper, right? So that's what I'm going to do. Let me just get my pot spoon to get off the stuff off of this, because when I put in the salt and pepper, I'm going to need the spoon in an event. It's already so smooth, so remember, I don't want to like the texture of store-bought stuff, right? Let it maintain some of its texture, please. And those I didn't tell you. If you don't, you know what you'll have to do. It's going to take long to cool down, so don't say I didn't say that. So some of our salt. A tip, I gave it already, but I'm going to give it again, right? It's my Stonewall Kitchen brand salt, main sea salt. I love this salt, it's really good. A tip when you are using potato, it doesn't keep salt, excess amount of salt. Having said that, you don't want to put too much, but if you're ever cooking and it's salty, I said in a prior demo, just add cubes of potato in it, especially if it's like stew. If you live here in Trinidad or the Caribbean and you are doing like a stew, right? Those before us, they were onto something when they started putting the potato into the stews and the curry and so forth, the curry meat and so forth, right? I'm going to add my pepper now, and then I'm going to add my milk. Not too much milk though. And if for some reason you have persons that are allergic to milk, well, you don't have to use the milk because it's not necessary, because it's already so smooth, but I want it more creamy, right? A couple turns of our medley of peppercorn in there. Don't want too much. That's what we want right there. And just a bit of our evaporated milk. Not much. Right? So I would say that was about a quarter cup. A quarter of a cup, not half. Right? Alright, so let me get on with it's, believe it or not, it's ready for me to put it together. Our beef is finished cooking and it's just lovely. If you want to, you can put like seasoning, whether with onion or freshly chopped onion and garlic in here. I don't want that. I'm staying traditional. Remember the start I said that, right? So I'm not going to be putting any or either of those things in here, right? You don't want it unsalted, so you need to taste for that to see where your salt level is at. And of course, we top of the cheddar that contains salt, so you just need to taste to see where your salt level is at. We need a bit more salt. Don't go berserk or crazy with the salt, okay? Just by tasting it, I know how much more salt I have to use. Because you really want some good tasting shepherd's pie. You don't want once the cheese layer come off, then nothing else have no taste in it, okay? So right here is where we're going to stop based on what I just tasted. Let me just wipe up that mess, and we are going straight into building or putting together our shepherd's pie, okay? Of course, I'm going to show you guys the beef, what our beef looks like, of course, because I'm going to build the pie on set. The thing with using the grinders is that everything goes all over. So the counter is like a mess of pepper, freshly cracked pepper. Right? The peas and carrot is optional, right? But I want to see some of it coming through, so I'm going to put it with my it's frozen peas and carrots, of course. Don't use the canned stuff, it's not the same. So I'm going to put it inside of there, right? The frozen peas and carrot. We're just going to show you guys a shot of it for you all to see it. I'm going to put it into our, you want it thawed, of course, right? You don't need to steam it, so I'm going to get it into our pot with our ground beef. The frozen peas and carrot. Well, it's not frozen anymore, but you know why I'm saying that, okay? It's a frozen quality or kind. You don't want to overkill it with it or put too much. So about there, and you don't ever want to cook off peas and carrots either. I love it to maintain its vibrancy at all times. So the stove is good to get off at this stage. I'm just going to put, because seasoning tends to cook off during cooking, I'm just going to put a bit more of my fresh seasonings in there, because I want a really tasty pie. I'm just going to put a bit more of that fresh blend of seasoning in there, so that I know for sure, for a fact that my pie will be well seasoned. Right, and now we are ready to build our pie. Let me just taste to make sure my salt is where it needs to be also in this, and we're going to start building this thing right this moment. I'm just going to put a little more salt in it. Remember, I wasn't going to go bold with salt flavors because I use the beef broth, right? I wanted to play it safe, so at this stage I will adjust my salt at this stage. If you are not good at averaging salt and seasoning, complete seasoning, it's wise to do it at this stage, okay? After you are finished cooking, there's nothing wrong with that. And so I am just going to finish my cheddar. It's cheddar that I'm using, that's in my processor already. And we are done. Let me build this pie. I have my baking dish. It's right here. Give a good spray because you don't want it sticking up. You all hear me say this time and time again. I like palm, but of late I'm using a brand of cooking spray. It looks like a lot, it's not. Go back and watch my other demos, especially the green fig pie, and you will see I used this much and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't showing after. So I'm using this. It's organic, extra virgin olive oil, non-stick cooking spray. It's first cold press, and it's certified USDA organic. It's eco-friendly, no propellants. Right? So I'm about to build our pie. We will need a spatula also for leveling this thing also, right? So you want to start by getting your first layer of potato in there, in your baking dish. If you don't know, if it's the first time you're watching Shepherd's Pie, it's a pie that's covered, okay? It's a 3-layer pie. It's a layer at the bottom of potatoes, and then there's a layer of meat in the middle, and then we go to a layer of stuff at the top. Cheese, potato and cheese and so forth at the top also, right? I'm still seeing a lot of black pepper, but because I'm live, I cannot do anything about it. I'm going to take out just a bit of it, right? You don't want it too bulky at the base. You don't want it too thin, you don't want it too bulky, you want a nice balance, okay? Remember, I didn't want to go too smooth. That was my goal. If you want it really smooth, well, you know, you're going to have to do it ahead of time, way ahead of time, in order to serve it after it's finished baking. Right? So let's go in with our layer of meat now. In with our layer of meat. Remember I said it's just 3 layers, okay? Our meat just looks so pretty when it hits the white. I told you all that I am here to show you guys how easy it is to do these things and to remove all intimidation away from such big name foods, right? And I get feedback all the time, and persons accomplish the same results that I accomplish all the time. Like all the time, persons are like, I made it, it's brilliant, you know, my family loved it, it's the best, you know, and I'm always thankful for the feedback, right? So I'm gonna just get some in other places, of course. You all, the viewers, your angle will always be different to my own. So sometimes what I do, I have to spin the dish, realize it's not dry, right? And you saw the amount of oil that I use. I didn't go berserk using like a whole set of oil in there. What I did was I used the broth for depth of flavor instead of using water. If you can't get broth, or you are not interested in the broth, use water. But your depth of flavor might not be as intense as my own is with the broth, right? So this is what you want to see in your pan when your meat is cooked. You don't want to see no dry beef, you know. Let's do this next layer. This is a tricky layer because remember you already have stuff in here now, right? So you want to be very, very, very peculiar, extremely careful with this layer, because the goal is not to have your meat mixed up all over the place, right? So you see what I'm doing? I can't even start to spread it because I want to make sure I more or less build around it first and then smooth it out, because what will happen, we'll end up with all of that in the meat and so forth in the top layer coming through, which is not what we want. Right, so you just want to follow the steps that I'm doing here, and we could start to press now gently and see if there's a need for more of our potato or not. Remember that I said we can use the store-bought stuff, the instant mash, the unflavored one. It just may not be as nice, or might not be as nice as if you do your potatoes yourself at home. So you see how I did it? Yeah. Some persons internationally will even use a tube and make it fancy at the top, right? I saw it time and time again being done like that. There's nothing wrong with that also, right? So yes, so I'm right here. Sometimes I just get quiet when I'm focusing. I'm right here. Don't ever think I'm going off. I'm right here. When it's food that calls for a lot of focus, I just focus a lot. If you are a vegetarian, I'm going to cover pretty soon soya, mince, and the chunks. So you want to use that. If you are a vegetarian, you just, at this point, you can simply, you all know I say all the time, we are not too fussed in the kitchen with any food, right? And this is why I love to work with spatulas and the likes, because you see, all I have to do is simply just keep removing the excess that I don't want off of here. I'm not fussing, I'm not carrying on, I'm staying calm. Yes, if you are a vegetarian, all you will need to do is buy this minced soya, cook it like you saw me cook the beef minus the broth, and follow all the other steps here, right? It can be accomplished with soya, minced soya. Also, if you want to just go bowl and use you can also use minced fish in here, really good quality minced fish. If you want to go bowl and you just want to do a veg shepherd's pie, go ahead. Use only the best quality veg you can get. I will use like things like mushrooms and the like. I happen to love mushroom a lot. You want hearty flavors in there, right? It's just easy. It's time to top with our cheese and breadcrumbs. And simple like that, it's done. Just looks so good. I wanted to keep my potato classic for it. I didn't want to go with any herbs and things in my potato. Some things I just don't mess with. Call me traditional with a lot of stuff, but I don't mess with some things. And potato, in my opinion, mashed potato should remain classic. That's my opinion. You might feel different about it. Sure, go ahead and add your stuff if you so desire. And then you might feel just like me and you might say, you know what, I'm not even going to bother putting anything in it. I too will want to have it classic. And how often do we have shepherd's pie? I don't know about you guys, but I don't make it a lot that and lasagna, I don't. Right? So how often can you say, okay, I made shepherd pie at my home and it was brilliant? I don't know of anyone that can say that, honestly. Because it's something that, like I said, you'll more get it if you are going out to dine and so forth, a lot of folks, right? So now you know how to make your own shepherd's pie, and you can make your own shepherd's pie well ahead of time. It's going to refrigerate nicely, of course, right? I have tons of potato remaining, so I can end up with 2 shepherd's pie. And that's the good thing when you buy your stuff from your fresh produce and you use it, because if you are going to use the instant stuff, I'm not calling any brand, but if you are going to use the instant stuff, keep in mind you're going to have to buy a lot of it, packs of it or packets of it, versus just buying a couple of our huge potatoes and boiling it off, and you know. So the choice is your own in any event. And just like that, we are done with our shepherd's pie. Let me top with some breadcrumbs, some Italian breadcrumbs, and put it down to bake. I don't speak on baking time and so forth of oven, because that varies by the model and age of your oven, whether it's electric or gas. And of course you will know how your oven behaves, because some persons have convection oven. Listen, everything is so different now because of technology that it's just not even funny. So you will know how it behaves. What I always suggest, however, for baking is don't ever put anything you are baking to the floor of on the bottom rack of your oven, the rack closest to the floor. Always put it on the top rack or the middle rack, just to play it safe, right? So I'm just going to clean up the bit of cheese mess that's all over, get my breadcrumbs on, and I'm going to put to bake, and of course I'll come back to show you guys the final product of it. And so forth, there's parsley and so forth in there, right? So if you are hypertensive, or you are not into the salt, please use regular breadcrumbs. Treat it like you will, I say this time and time again, treat breadcrumbs like you will bread. It's made from bread that's a couple days old, breadcrumbs, so you want to treat it the way you treat bread, right? And when I use breadcrumbs, it does double duty, because cheddar is somewhat oily and it just helps to absorb, and it makes the top of it crispy also. If you don't like mess like me, just be careful and watch out, because the breadcrumb will be all over your counter surface and so forth, right? And it's this simple, this easy for us to make shepherd's pie from scratch, right? Just make sure you have a good bit. Don't go crazy with your breadcrumbs, but make sure there's enough on the surface, right? Usually I will use my shaker. My vintage, a simple, if you buy a salt and pepper shaker, you can use that, and it goes on just nicely, depending on the size that it is, right? The dispenser, the top is, you know. So this is where I want to leave it. You have seen the parsley coming through. That's how Italian breadcrumbs look, right? It came that way. I didn't have to season it, so I'm going down to bake, and of course I'll be with you over the final product, right? Those of you that was here, I thank you all for watching. Bye. I'll show you guys final product.